I am chatting today with several women who are part of an upcoming book project out this next week. It's called The Not So Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. I have Emily Clark, who was part of the editor for this project. And then I have three other women who were involved in this project as well. Thank you guys for taking a few minutes to talk about this project with me today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Emily, let me start with you. You kind of played a role in editing this book, from what I understand. Do you want to just talk about the premise of this book and what it is?
So the idea for this book sorry, I have a little bit of a cold, so pardon my gravelly voice, but the premise for this book came from, I was driving down the freeway and I had seen the billboard for the not so secret, or for the secret lives of Mormon wives. And just the idea for the not so secret lives of real Mormon wives popped into my head. And I took it to my boss, Bryce Mortimer, and he said, okay, go make this happen. And I said, okay, perfect. We have a place on the schedule for March. And he said, no, I want this out by November. And that was September 23rd. And we ended up publishing it Thanksgiving Day. So it was a real fast project. And as we said, these ladies had not done any professional writing. Or have you done professional writing before, ladies?
I've done one.
Okay. And so most of the ladies had not done professional writing in the project, in projects before. And we knew that was going to be a thing. So normally developmental edits are not something that I would do. I'm the acquisitions manager at Cedar Fort. So I reached out and I invited all of the women who are in this project to participate. And we had our first 5 yeses by the end of the first day, and all 8 women by the end of the first week, which was really remarkable. We did a lot of back and forth on all of these ladies over the course of about 6 weeks. It was really impressive what they were able to do. Really, really impressive.
And Emily, why did you choose these women specifically?
You know, every single one of them, I feel like came into the project very purposely. A couple of them, for example, Kimberly Dowdle and Gainalyn Condi. I had been following Kimberly Dowdle's page for a while, and Gainalyn had published with us before, and I knew both of them, and just immediately I knew that I wanted them in the project, and it just felt right. And then Caroline, she came into the project. She is publishing at our publishing company. She's helping translate some of our books into Portuguese. And so we reached out to her, and she wanted to be in the project. And then Esther's my cousin, and I know that she is amazing and has a really unique story that I thought would be impactful. And now those were some of the easier yeses, whereas
How many stories are told in this book total? How many women are featured?
8 women.
8. Okay, so we're talking to just 3 of them today.
Yes.
Let's go ahead and dive into that. Let's start with the first name that shows up on my list here is Kimberly. Kimberly,
Hi.
you're one of the writers and one of the women featured in this book. Do you want to just introduce yourself a little bit to the audience?
Absolutely. My name is Kimberly Dowdell. I am a wife. I've been married to my husband for almost 25 years. Together, we have 4 children, and our youngest happens to have Down syndrome. He is 14 years old. I share his joy every day with people on social media. We have 3 platforms where we've had over 350 million views across those platforms, where people come online every single day and say, I showed up here to get a smile. This is so heartwarming. I was having a bad day and I saw your video and it turned my day around. And so we have found that it's a good place to advocate for the Down syndrome community, or, special needs community. And as in my other part-time job is I am a Zumba instructor. So I've been teaching Zumba for the last 15 years. And that's also a big part of my story that I share in the book, is how that came to be and how that actually ended up being a very important part of my healing after I found out that my son had Down syndrome.
So now, Kimberly, where do you live?
I live in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Salt Lake City, Utah.
Hmm.
So obviously we don't want to spoil the book. We want people to
I
buy
know we don't want to give it all away.
um but this Zumba connection with your son who has Down syndrome. Do you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
You bet. So before I became pregnant with him, my husband, and I won't give away all of the story, but he was in school. He was going to SUU, and we had just gone back to school having, 3 kids, and money was tight. And I had already been teaching some other classes, and one of the owner of the gym came to me and he said, "Hey, have you heard of this thing called Zumba?" And it was fairly new, and I had kind of heard of it. I said, "Oh, isn't it that dance thing?" And he says, "Well, it is blowing up everywhere. If you want to get certified, I'll give you a class." And I was really excited. I love dance, I always have. And so I went to the certification, I got certified, and it just kind of blew up in my life. I mean, in a positive way. The second that I started teaching, I was immediately just drawn to it. I thought, this is the thing that I've been waiting for. The music, the rhythms, the people, the community, everybody just fell in love with it. And I like to say that God knew that I was going to need Zumba in my life, because after my son was born with Down syndrome, he had a lot of health complications and spent some time in the hospital. And when we finally got home from that, I went into kind of a depression. I was really low and was kind of having a hard time. I was trying to deal with all these different health issues that he was having, on top of dealing with a new diagnosis that I wasn't expecting, because we found out at birth that he had Down syndrome. So we didn't know beforehand. And we had moved to a new city. All of these things were going on in my life. And I was really depressed. And because I had already had that Zumba connection in my life, even though we had moved to a new city, we were now in Salt Lake City, I started reaching out to gyms, and I found some places where I could teach. And it was through that I made some really good friends who soon discovered what I had been going through with my son and the different emotions that I was feeling. And then in talking to these friends, I would find out that they too had been going through really hard things. So they had maybe like been experiencing infertility, or someone lost their mom to cancer, or they were experiencing divorce, or hard things with their kids. And dance, I like to tell people, is something that's very vulnerable. When you're dancing in front of other people, you let down these walls around you and you become very vulnerable while doing it. And through that process, the women in my class, once they let these walls down, we were able to really connect and help each other heal, while we shared our stories and different trials that we were experiencing together.
I want to come back and ask you all a kind of a question for all of you when we're done, but right now let's just go to the next one. Caroline, where are you from, and tell us about yourself a little bit.
Okay, so I'm Caroline Milazzo. I'm originally from Brazil. I've been in the US for 10 years.
What part of the US do you live in?
I live in Utah right now as well.
Okay.
Yes, in Utah County. So I've been doing real estate. Also, I'm a mom of 3 boys, and also I'm a podcaster, which is my feature on the book. I have part of a Come Follow Me podcast for Portuguese speakers. And in the book, I share my story. I share mainly about losing my parents and how the temple helped me, how the doctrine of paternal families um, helped me go through this. I share some challenges that I have with my son, my firstborn, and but how, like, my whole life, how this Savior has been helping me. I also shared about my story, how I met my husband, and how uh, when he was coming back from his mission, how we first met, because we were writing letters to each other. Um, and it's been a blessing to be part of this project. Sorry about I think my signal here drops off and come back.
Oh, that's all right. Let's see. We have Esther. Esther, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, of course. Before I do that, I just want to say whoever is listening to this and watching this, that they should definitely look forward to Carolyn's story because it's very beautiful. Every single story in this book is just amazing. As um, the women, we didn't really know each other before this, and now we're all like best friends because we've had a chance to read each other's story, and we're absolute huge supporters of one another. And I'm sitting here watching Carolyn. I know you can't really hear a lot of her audio. It's not the greatest, but I'm telling you, her story is absolutely amazing. And it's worth reading the book and getting to know her, and as well as Kimberly and everyone else in the story. So let me go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Esther Jackson Stowell. I am one of the writers in this beautiful and wonderful book called The Not So Secret Lives of Real Mormon Wives. My story is primarily goes over my is my immigration story of coming to the United States. I'm Nigerian born. Arrived in the U.S. when I was about 11 years old, and I have been in Utah now for the past 14 years. I am a mother of five, three biological kids, and two foster children who we love. My husband and I love absolutely, um, completely, and um, I am a mom. I am a wife. I'm also a businesswoman. I like to think that I'm here for the comedy. You have these beautiful stories, and I enjoy humor. So as you read my part, you'll see a little bit of that in there. What else? I am a real estate broker, and my section of the book is titled "The Broker." Esther Jackson Stole the Broker. That title has been a huge part of my life um, as a broker of friends or a broker of relationships, and just seeing the need that people do have and being able to share my life and my gifts with them.
I did want to ask all of you, and all of you have kind of already said this, but I was hoping to get a more in-depth response of, what has it meant to you to be part of this project? Well, do you want to start, Kimberly?
Sure. When I received the email from Emily asking me if I would join in on this project, I was really excited about it. I said absolutely, because I feel like we are sharing our lives every single day in a way that people can relate to it. I feel like they will be able to see themselves through our stories. There's a lot of people who will go through these stories and they'll say, "Oh my gosh, I just received a Down syndrome diagnosis," or "My husband lost a job," or "Oh my gosh, I just moved here from this country," and they'll be able to see themselves through our stories. And I'm excited for them to read these stories, find hope through these stories, and hopefully be inspired.
Caroline, you in particular were saying how rewarding it was to be a part of this. Do you want to add to that at all?
Of course. So I think we are all members of the church, right? And we all have beautiful stories. And I love to be among amazing women. And as soon as I heard about the project, that we were gonna put our stories of faith or of our lives, and I totally agree with Kimberly. I think most of us know women and can relate with those type of women that have things in common with us and share the same faith. But it's an amazing project. I love to be among those powerful women that loves Christ and have beautiful stories of faith and about our relationship with our um, with Heavenly Father, you know, I think that's a beautiful, so our ordinary lives, right? We don't have extraordinary or not superwomen. We just like ordinary wife, women showing our faith, our stories.
Esther, I wanted to ask you, why do talk about the role that women play in the church and why it's so important to be a woman of faith in today's world?
Oh, curveball question, right? But I do like it. It is, you know, women are very powerful. I think sometimes we often um, perhaps dim our own light in not understanding who we are. But I believe the women are really powerful. We're the backbone of the church. We're the backbone of families. We're the backbone of society. And when I think about women in the church, I think about the support and the role that we play to really bring forth God's plan on this earth. So, in terms of our role as women, I really believe that we have a whole lot more than we give ourselves credit for. And this book is a huge part of showing that and just showing how powerful we are and how important we are. And in the church, we hear a lot about, we're the daughters of Heavenly Father. And I believe that to the core, to my core, that we truly are. And with that knowledge, it's important that we really take on that role and accept it and live it because we have every opportunity to do so. And again, this book will hopefully allow people to recognize their role, recognize their power, and use it just as we've had a chance to use it. Because when Emily brought this to my attention, this her revelation, I was initially hesitant because, as she knows, I'm a very private person. I enjoy the life that I live. However, there was something really powerful about this project. And I knew that I had to speak up. I had to speak up because I want the world to know who we are as women and who love Jesus Christ, women in the church. And I wanted people to know that we are more than what a TV show might show, only a glimpse of, but there's a whole lot more stories that need to be told. And what a better place than to have a book or a project like this to show who we are and to allow everyone else to know that they can be a part of that. So I tell people I didn't get a chance to go on a mission, but this is my way of like being a missionary, giving the story out to the world and allowing people to read it and relate to it and be a part of this plan of salvation that we are very much aware of.
So again, the book, it's called The Not So Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. You can pre-order it on Amazon or really anywhere that you buy books. Emily, in the last couple of minutes that we have left, I just wanted to kind of wrap it up by asking you, what do you hope people take away from this?
Honestly, I hope that they come out feeling Heavenly Father's love for them. I know that that's how I felt when I was reading these women's stories as I was helping them write them. They're really powerful and just this really strong feeling like uh, being aware, watching them be aware of Heavenly Father in their lives and watching them show and share those experiences they've had where Heavenly Father has had a hand in their life. And I think sometimes people need that. I think it's so easy for us to miss those times where Heavenly Father is there for us. And so when you see other people recognizing it and saying, hey, this is when he was here for me, I think it makes it easier for people to be able to see his hand in their own lives. And so I would hope that people would be able to read these stories and go, wow, he really is there for us. I just need to look for him closer.